massive compensation shift, historic movement. Everyone is celebrating what happened in the WNBPA, the Women's National Basketball Players Association. But we here in Imagine Greater, we didn't just see a win, we saw a mirror. And we're asking ourselves as leaders, what did it cost to get there and what are you willing to pay for it? Because here's the truth. Some of us want the outcome, but we are not committed to the process. Welcome to Imagine Greater, the podcast where we challenge the status quo and reimagine what's possible in business, in leadership, and in life. I am Michelle Bethel Gibson, your host, and joining me today is my amazing podcast producer, Cynthia Dyer.
Yay!
Yay! Welcome, Cynthia.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Great. Wonderful. Because today we're talking about holding the line, the leadership course of knowing your value. So Cynthia's going to have her part, her say in that as we get into this topic today. Are you ready? Let's lean in for another amazing podcast. Value is decided before it is paid. Value, your value, what you determine that you're worth is decided before it is paid. What we just witnessed was not just negotiation. It was identity. A group of women said, this is who we are. This is what we bring. And this is what we will no longer accept. And we applaud them here. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Let me say it plainly. Nobody will pay you what you have not already decided you are worth.
Yes, that's a mic drop moment.
A mic drop moment because nobody will pay you what you have not already decided you are worth. And here's where many leaders get stuck. You're waiting for the client to agree. You're waiting for the market to confirm. You're waiting for the opportunity to validate. You're waiting for, what are you waiting for? But value doesn't start out there. It starts here. It starts with you. Many leaders are not underpaid. They are undecided. So Cynthia, as a man thinketh, so is he. So when you think about your value and a client decides that they're going to challenge you as one did this week, what would necessarily be your response?
The earliest memory I have of that, I remember there was this client who had come up to me. She was referred to me by another client, and the client liked the results I gave her, liked the work I did for her, and so she referred her to me. But I realized there was a mismatch in our values, right? In the way that we like to treat people and all that stuff. And I remember she had, before signing our contract, she had expected me to start getting started on the work, right? And she had already mailed me a check. She mailed me a check of $3,500, $3,500. And she expected that because she mailed me a check, I should get to work chop without having to sign our terms and agreements and all that. And I saw that as a sign that might lead to a problematic relationship between us as clients and service provider. And so I pushed back and I rejected the $3,500. And when I rejected the $3,500, her ego kicked in and she said she wasn't going to work with me anymore. And that was the end of it. And I was okay with that. To me, that was me standing on my value as a business owner, and my value is beyond the paycheck. So it's like you said, right? Your value doesn't start out there. It starts eternally and internally. And so for me, my value is beyond the paycheck. It's beyond $3,500. And so I rejected it, right? Now, how does that apply to the WNBA? These women, for people who know the history of this league, these women have been severely underpaid for years and years and years in this league, right? And so they opted out of the previous collective bargaining agreement going into this year's season. And they had a long period of time to negotiate a new collective bargaining agreement with the WNBA. But I feel like the WNBA's ownership and leadership was trying to push them to take less than what they were worth, with the fear of having to not play in the WNBA this year, right? So they delayed on the negotiations for a very long time. These negotiations didn't have to take this long. The WNBPA, the Players Association, had sent a proposal to the WNBA that they didn't get a response from the WNBA for at least a month. Only for the WNBA over the past couple of weeks to then threaten that the WNBA players needed to come to an agreement at a certain deadline, otherwise there won't be a league this year. So, but the WNBPA, the Players Association, stood firm on their value. They didn't give in to the threats. They didn't give in to all the deadlines that the WNBA ownership was pushing for. They stood firm on that value. And this CBA that we're celebrating right now, it took about 5 days of over 12 hours of negotiations to come to this current CBA that we're talking about right now. It was marathon negotiation across about 5 days to over 12 hours each day. The WNBPA Players Association president was there. Some of her vice presidents were there with the WNBA ownership and and the WNBA commissioner before they came to this agreement. And the details of the agreement have been coming out. And this is it. We're not where they're not where their value is yet, but it is a massive progress from where they were in the last collective bargaining agreement. So
I am still baffled as to how long it took. I mean, really, it's a negotiation that needed to take place because women who knew their value. And what's interesting, the association know their value as well. So I always love this quote by Chester Carras. It says, "You don't get what you deserve. You get what you negotiate." And if you haven't settled on your value, you will negotiate against yourself every time. So I just want to congratulate Cynthia on not accepting a $3,500 check in real time, because that was not her worth and she knew it. And I'm just going to tell every woman, every man, every person out there, you need to decide that ahead of time. What are you worth? Because standing your ground will cost you. It will. See, guys, let's stop romanticizing leadership here. Standing your ground is not cute. It is costly. It will cost you opportunities. It will cost you relationships. It will cost you comfort. It will cost you speed. And sometimes it will cost being liked. If you're worried about being liked, standing your ground will affect that. And that's where leaders fold. Because pressure has a way of exposing what you really believe about yourself. But hear me, and here's clarity. Conviction costs you now, but compromise costs you even more later. Doesn't it? Doesn't it? As you think about your life, as you think about what you have said you are worth, every day it costs you. Because Mark 8:36 says in the Word of God, "What shall it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose your soul?" So let me tell you, every time you lower your standard to keep things moving forward, you are not solving a problem. You are creating a pattern, and patterns become culture. Patterns become culture. So Cynthia, as we talk about, it is always going to cost them something, cost you something to stand your ground. What was that look like in real time? Because we're thinking that when we're just gonna be quiet to maintain the status quo so it could move forward. What do you think it has cost those women in the WNBA and PA?
oh yeah, it cost them likability. That's the major thing. So one of the incidents I remember was Nafisa Collier, who's a player in the WNBA, one of the superstars of the WNBA. And it was at the end of last season. And she sat in her exit presser at the end of last season and just lambasted the WNBA ownership. She called them out. She called them out in that presser, called them out for their treatment of players, called them out for the careless way in which they treat the women. And she was qualified to call them out because she's also the co-founder of an off-season WNBA league. Well, not a WNBA league, but for WNBA players called Unrivaled. And Unrivaled is just in its second year. And Unrivaled, as of before this new collective bargaining agreement, was already paying players way more than they were paid in the WNBA that has been, in existence for over a decade now. So Unrivaled, there was this competition they had during the last season of Unrivaled, and within 31 minutes, a player made more than she makes within a season playing for the WNBA. So Nefisa Collier, standing on her reputation as a co-founder of that league that takes care of women, that takes care of the players, lambasted the WNBA and its ownership. And of course, there was pushback. There were some fans who thought she went too far. There were a lot of people who thought she went too far, and she just never backed down. Every opportunity she got, speaking opportunities, she would always say the same thing over and over again. She never backs down. And that cost her likability, because before the events of the past couple of years in the WNBA, Nefisa Collier, she's like the quiet kind. We call her the silent assassin in the way she plays on the court. So before that year, no one really knew Nefisa Collier, right? But no one, or either knew her and just liked her because she kept quiet, right? Because she didn't say much, she didn't rock tables. And so the moment she started rocking tables, it cost her her likability with a lot of people. A lot of people don't like her anymore. But at the end of the day, she got what she wanted. They got what they wanted. So that's a perfect example.
And in the long run, what's a better legacy than staying quiet? Standing up consistently for what you believe in. So I congratulate Miss Collier. I congratulate you. You weren't worried to be like, but guess what? History will record you as a woman who stood your ground regardless of what it costs. And in the long run, how many women benefited, right?
Exactly. Generations of women will benefit from that. That's like historic.
Every time you lower your standard and keep things moving, we say it again, you're not solving a problem, you're creating a pattern, and pattern becomes a culture. So congratulations to everyone out there who stand their ground consistently stating what is their worth, right? So as we continue to talk about knowing your value as a leader and what it's costing you, one of the things we understand is you train people how to treat you. This one is personal. Every time you back down, every time you say, okay, every time you allow things to remain the same, you're training people how to treat you. Because I had to live with this. People don't just respond to what you say, they respond to what you allow. If you overextend, right? If you undercharge, if you delay decisions, if you avoid hard conversations, and Cindy and I were just talking about some hard conversations we have to have, right? You are not just managing your business, you're training behavior. You're training behavior. So it is important that the beginning of next week, we have to have those hard conversations. You see, because I too had to have a hard conversation with one of my clients who said they thought my trucking fee was too expensive. Too expensive compared to what? Am I providing you the adequate service? Am I giving you value for money? Yes, yes, and yes. Have I gone above and beyond? Yes, that's why you've been with me for more than 5 years, right? Had I not done that, you would have moved on long ago. So when they said it cost too much, I had to then compare to what? And when they understood the value that they were getting, they quickly say, yeah, we'll be happy to pay.
There you go.
Right? You'll be happy to pay. So as the word of God reminds us, Galatians 6:7, do not be deceived. God is not mocked. For whatever you sow, you reap. So if you sow a little, you reap a little. This week, we see the ladies of the WNBA saying, and the Players Association saying, we're going to sow more because we're worth more and we want to reap more, right? And here's the leadership reality in all of this. You're always sowing something. The question is, what are you teaching people about your leadership? So Cynthia, my question is, has there ever been a time that you've shrink back and you've sown in a way that has consistently allowed people to see you, that cause you to shrink your leadership, that cause you to receive less because you've decided that I'm not gonna ask for too much right now, right?
Sister Michelle, that those difficult conversations we talked about, that is happening right now.
Wow.
That is happening
Wow.
right now. And I feel like God has been putting things in place to remind me who I am. It's a season of a lot of transitions for me. Because just yesterday, I told you about the check that I rejected. I pulled up that check because I kept the check as a memory to remind me
Oh,
that my value isn't in dollars. Like if you were to place my value in numbers, I'm priceless. But I get what I ask for and I get what I
exactly.
accept,
Yes.
right? And so that was a reminder because I pulled out that check yesterday. It was a reason I needed it for something. And it just reminded me again who I am, what I've done, and how I may need to, in this moment, step up to who God has made me to be. So that's
Yes.
happening right now where I'm shrinking back and I am, I told you how I'm allowing someone else to sort of take the lead on my life, to be honest, to make the decisions as it pertain to my life, and it's almost like I'm taking the back seat in my life again, and I have to step up. This is a challenge to step up. At this moment, everything is coming at the right time to step up to who I know myself to be and who God has created me to be. So,
Oh, I love that. Audience, did you hear that? This is a moment for her to step up. Not just step up, but step up to whom God created her to be. Wow. I love that. We're taking that and we're running with that because we too need to step up. So I'm gonna have that hard conversation too as well, Cynthia. And then we're gonna compare notes. Right?
yes, I
I'm
love it.
excited. I'm stepping up. I love this quote by David Morrison that says, "The standard you walk past is the standard you accept. The standard you walk past is the standard you accept." So stop teaching people to train you as less, to treat you as less. Okay? That's the main point of this part of the podcast that we want you to get. Stop teaching people to treat you as less. Step up like Cynthia's doing. And let's show them that we're worth more. Okay? Let me stretch you for a moment. Individual conviction is powerful, but collective alignment, that's unstoppable. They align together, and that's what was unstoppable. See, what we saw wasn't just strong individuals. We saw unity and we saw a unified clarity. And for those of you leading teams or dealing with difficult partnerships, you already know this. You already know this. Misalignment is expensive. It shows up as confusion. It shows up as inconsistency. It shows up as weak execution. It shows up as internal tension. Amos 3:3 says, "Can two walk together except they agree?" And here's the leadership ship. Alignment is not about everyone agreeing. It's about everyone being clear on the values, on the vision, on the standards, because clarity moves negotiation. When you got clear, when Ms. Collier and the other members of the WBNBA NPA got clear on exactly what they wanted, then that is what moved the negotiations. So, how many times, Cynthia, have you had to get clarity? Clarity. That's what we need. Sometimes we don't need another conversation, even though we need to have the hard conversation. We need to get real clear on exactly what it is we want and exactly how much we are worth. Yeah.
I always use this analogy. So if you're using a GPS, right, you need a destination in that GPS to get you to where you want to be, right? And I feel like clarity is that focal point. So if you're not even clear on what you want, then you have no destination, right?
Isn't that
So you
interesting?
Yep, you have no destination if you're not clear on what you want. And so, as it pertains to the WNBPA, they were clear that they were not going to. One of their biggest points where they wanted to see a change was they wanted a significant share of the growing revenue of the WNBA, right?
Yeah.
And they never backed down on that because the NBA, which is the men's side of the league, the NBA players, I think, are entitled to about 50% of the revenue for the NBA, while the women, as of before the CBA, I think we only had less than 7% of the revenue. And so the improvement they were looking for, they wanted to go up more than at least 17%. And they got that. They just never backed down from that. And they eventually got, I think, about 20% of revenue growth. Again, not nearly where they're worth, speaking of worth, but it's significant progress. And for how quickly the WNBA has been growing over the past few years, 20% is a figure that would change lives. So yeah, it's that was, they were clear on the fact that there were some things they were not going to back down on, right? In going into those negotiations, they were clear on the fact that there were some things that they had some non-negotiables, right, in those negotiations. And so they stood on that. And the thing with going in with clarity is then you know when there's a win. When there is a win, you know that you've gotten those things that were non-negotiables, you got them. Then you can comfortably declare your negotiation between yourself and whoever a win. And how that appears in my life, again, is like I said, I personally have been compromising on some of my non-negotiables, and the WNBA players are challenging me to step up. So
Oh, listen, the WNBA players are so inspiring. So inspiring. And that's why we're having this podcast, because we want you too to be inspired. Because another thing, you are seeing the reward of years when you stand up. From the outside, it looked sudden. It looked like it was sudden, but they were fighting behind the scenes, right?
yes,
It looks sudden, but leadership never is. What you're seeing is years of groundwork, hard conversations, rejection, and endurance. And sometimes that's what it takes. So don't grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time you will reap a harvest. So let me ask you something. Are you preparing or just wishing? Are you preparing or just wishing? Because many leaders are praying for moments they don't have the capacity to sustain. We're praying for moments. You see these WNBPA ladies? Listen, they've been preparing for years. And so when they came to the negotiating table, they were ready for what they should have received long ago. All right? So are you preparing? Are you preparing, or are you just wishing? Because you need to have the capacity to sustain what you are preparing and wishing for. If it is your due season to reap your harvest, is it? Is it your due season? Because if you're preparing, then it is. But if you're not, because we understand, like Zig Ziglar said, success is when preparation meets opportunity. These women have been playing for years, and when the opportunity arrived for them to be paid what they are worth, they were ready. They were ready. Cynthia has been preparing for years to receive what she is worth, and that's why she can have the hard conversation. That's why she can say no to a $3,500 check. And what's interesting, when people decide how to treat you, or don't understand that it took you 18 years to become an overnight success. What is interesting about that is they show up with a $3,500 check when they know in their heart of hearts it really should be triple that or 10 times that.
that part.
You know, right?
Yep. Very true.
You know, and they know, and you know that they know. They know you're worth more.
Yep. 100%.
Exactly, because if a different name was attached to the deal that you were proposing, if a different name, they would have said, yeah, no problem, I'll give you 10 grand,
There you go.
right? But because Cynthia's name was attached, well, she don't need that much. She don't deserve that much. Well, Cynthia, step up and step out.
There we go.
And kept the check as a reminder of her years of preparation that got her to where she is right now, so that she can demand, not just negotiate, demand what she's worth. And guess what? Those who know her worth pay it every day, right? Because success,
100%.
exactly. Because success is when preparation meets opportunity. So, question: where are you negotiating against yourself? Where are you? Because we know we do it all the time. Even as moms and at home, we negotiate against ourselves all the time. Now, let's bring this home. Because this is not about them, this is about you. Where are you saying yes when you should be clear? Where are you lowering your standards when you should keep peace? Because you want to keep peace. Where are you avoiding decisions that require courage? And here's the hard truth. Some of what you're tolerating is not what life has handed you. It's what you have allowed. Life hasn't, sometimes we say life just happens. No, you've allowed that life to happen. The word of God says, examine yourself, because you see, you cannot stand your ground publicly if you have not settled it privately. Have you settled privately what your worth is, what you're going to allow, what you're going to tolerate, and the fact that you're going to stop negotiating against yourself? For a long time, Cynthia is saying how Miss Collier kept quiet. It was only when she spoke out that people are saying, oh, where did she come from with that? But she had to reconcile that with herself privately first, right, Cynthia?
Because she knew the repercussions. She knew what was going to happen. She knew there'll be pushback from the WNBA, but she did it still. So it must have taken, like you said, months, years of private preparation to show up that way publicly.
Exactly. And that's what she needed to do. But once she came out with it, she was consistently communicating her expectations and standing up and speaking up for a number of women who probably weren't ready to have the hard conversation that Miss Collier had decided in private that she needed to go public with. So congratulations once again. So here's some real-time action steps, Cynthia, that we want to leave with them. We want to leave you real-time, hold the line action steps of knowing your worth. The number one is the 10-minute value decision. Do this today. Don't overthink this, because sit for 10 minutes, put a timer on, sit for 10 minutes and answer these questions honestly. What do I know I bring to the table? What do I know I bring to the table? Every day you have to negotiate your worth. And if you don't know what you bring to the table, then how can you expect others to know? Second question, where am I underpricing, overgiving, or overextending? Where might you be overpricing, overgiving, or overextending? This is going to take 10 minutes. This doesn't have to be long. And thirdly, what am I tolerating that does not align with my value? What am I tolerating? What have you tolerated? And then I want you to make this bold statement. From this moment onward, from this moment going forward, I will no longer accept blank. I will no longer accept blank. And put that out there for you, because Romans 12:2 said, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So the first renewal has to happen in your mind. Okay? So, Cynthia, that's the first action step, because transformation does not start with action. It starts with a decision, right?
Yes.
That's the first action step, the 10-minute value decision, right? The second action step is the hard conversation that Cynthia and I talk about. I want to challenge you to have the hard conversation.
Yes, we're challenging everyone. Sister Michelle and I, before we started recording this podcast, decided we're going to have hard conversations. So if anyone else needs to have a hard conversation, join us this week. We'll be waiting for updates.
Yes. Let us know on the link after this podcast. Let us know how the hard conversation went, because most of you already know the hard conversation you've been avoiding. Call it out. You need to have it either with the client, the staff member, your partner, or just have a boundary hard conversation. So have one conversation over the next 24 hours to reflect the true standard. Don't be aggressive. Don't be emotional. Just be clear. It's all about speaking the truth in love, because clarity is kindness. Delay creates confusion, right? Number 3.
100%.
Yeah, the standard reset, take this immediate business move. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business owner, review one service, review one pricing structure today. And ask yourself, does this reflect my value or my fear of losing the opportunity? One, ask yourself, does this reflect my value or am I afraid of losing the opportunity? Then adjust one thing: the price, the terms, the boundaries, the delivery options. Take one product and make the adjustment. Because if you don't set your price, the market will discount you. Cynthia, if you don't set your price, if they don't set their price, the market will discount you.
Yep.
Because this is where many of us are leaking revenue, right? Okay,
Yep.
let's make haste. As we get on number 4, the no exercise. You know one thing, Cynthia, I know? No is the same in any language. We need no translation for no.
Yep.
And no matter where you are in the world, everybody understands no. So some of you don't have a value problem. You have a no problem. Say no to the one thing today that drains you, that drains your capacity, that doesn't align with your calling. No explanation, no over apologizing. Just say, that doesn't work for me at this time. That's it.
Yeah.
Even the Bible says in Matthew 5:37, let your yes be yes and your no, no. Every unnecessary yes is stealing your next level. Okay?
That's real.
Okay? All right. Number 5, the pattern interrupt. Self-audit tonight. Tonight before you go to bed. Reflect on what did I shrink today? Where did I shrink today? Where did I hesitate today? Where did I compromise today? And then ask yourself this. What would a higher version of me have done differently? Ooh, right, Cynthia?
Yes.
Where did I shrink today? Where did I hesitate today? Where did I compromise today? And what would a higher version of me done differently? This is how you build self-leadership awareness, because you cannot correct what you refuse to confront. All right, that's number 5. Number 6, here's our alignment check. Listen, schedule one alignment conversation this week. Clarify expectations, clarify standards, clarify priorities, and ask directly. Are we aligned on what we are building now, or are we just building it? Or how we are building? Are we aligned on what we are building and how we are building it? Misalignment is expensive. Fix it early. Misalignment is that's why Cynthia and I are having the hard conversation, because we have the hard conversation now. 10 years from now, we won't be misaligned, and we wouldn't be saying, I wish I had. We would have done it already. Alignment check. Sometimes good people are just good people, but are they the right people for us to be aligned with?
That's real.
Because we keep saying, there is such a good person. Yeah, okay.
Yep.
A good person could be costing you money. Okay. Number 7.
Oh yeah, 100%.
The hold the line declaration. Anchor this now. Stand up. I want you to stand up right where you are. Yes, I mean physically stand up if possible. And say, I will not negotiate against myself anymore. I know my value, and I will hold the line. Stretch, stand up, bold. I will not negotiate against myself anymore. I know my value and I hold the line, because leadership is not just strategy, it's identity. Stand firm. Even the Bible tells you to stand firm. Okay? So, as we continue to talk about, we gave you 7 strategies on what you could do. So let me tell you this. If nothing changes after this episode, this was just not a good listen. Do not treat this episode as it was just a good listen, because we're all about you implementing things for the better. But if you implement one of these today, just one of these, you've already started shifting your leadership immediately. You can already start shifting your leadership immediately. Standing your ground is not about ego. It's about clarity. Clarity about who you are. Clarity about what you carry. Clarity about what you will no longer tolerate. Because once that becomes clear, everything shifts. Your decision, your posture, your outcomes. And here's what Cynthia and I want to leave with you. Where do you need to stop negotiating against yourself? Because the level you are asking God for will require a version of you that knows how to hold the line, but more importantly, knows your worth. Cynthia, is there anything else you want to remind our audience of today?
I just want to appeal to you for your sake and for the sake of the people around you, because everything we do ripples out. I tell Sister Michelle all the time how she doesn't know how much of an inspiration she is. For, she doesn't realize, just by being herself, she runs 6 businesses, doing all this wonderful stuff, continues to keep a smile on her face, continues to be an amazing human being. She doesn't know how much she inspires people. So every single thing we do ripples out. What the WNBPA players have done has rippled out beyond just the effect it has on the WNBA players. It ripples out to me. And so I'm inspired. I am fired up. I am ready to make those changes. I will be giving Sister Michelle feedback on that difficult conversation that I'm going to be having. And I want to appeal to you all to do the same for yourself. Do the same for yourself. Have those tough conversations. Stand on business. Elevate your mind. Elevate yourself. Know that you're worth it. Know that you are actually priceless. And all the little things that the world does to try to put a price on you is just compensation. Because you're already priceless. You're priceless. So that's it.
That is amazing. Thank you for that. Everything ripples and you're already priceless. I love that. I love that, Cynthia. What an excellent way to end today. So we know this has stretched you. Don't keep it to yourself. Share it with another leader who needs to hear this, who needs to understand their value. And if you haven't already, if you are ready to lead with clarity and courage and conviction, you're exactly where you need to be right now. This is Imagine Greater. So we want you to go ahead and click the link and subscribe if you haven't already done so. What are you waiting for? And share this with as many people, whether in business, whether at home, whether at work, whether jogging, whatever. People need to understand what they are worth because like Cynthia said, they're priceless. What the world is giving you is just a little bit compensation of what you're really worth. So it has been our pleasure, Cynthia and I. And listen, we're going to have more of her joining us, right?
We should. This was fun.
Yeah. Excellent. And there's more to come. So click the link, share it with friends and family. And it has truly been our pleasure to bring this amazing podcast of knowing your worth as a leader. Because everyone leads exactly where they are. You just need to know that you're worth whatever you've negotiated. Have a great day. Have a great time. And once again, it has been our pleasure at Imagine Greater. Welcome once again and see you soon on the next one.